Today I'm going to be taking a look at The Big Bang Theory Season 1, Episode 15, The Pork Chop Indeterminacy. This episode gets this title because at one point when the group is competing over Sheldon's sister, Howard makes a reference that he would kill his own rabbi with a pork chop to be with Sheldon's sister. So this episode starts out with Leonard and Raj making their way into the university having a discussion, and they see a flyer on the bulletin board that says they are looking for volunteers for a study to help people with social anxiety. Raj says he doesn't know why they'd be looking for someone like that here. As they continue further down the hall, they see a group of people, including Howard, outside of Sheldon's office, and they're all confused as to why there's a beautiful woman in Sheldon's office. This turns out to be Sheldon's twin sister, Missy, making her first appearance on the show. Missy is the second member of Sheldon's family to make an appearance on the show. She is his fraternal twin sister, meaning they come from two separate eggs, so they are not identical twins. They don't look alike, and they are no more alike than any two other siblings. They were just born at the same time. Sheldon introduces Missy to everyone, and when she tries to talk to Raj, he can't speak back to her because of his anxiety, so he walks away, and he seems to figure out why they were looking for test subjects as he comes back and grabs the flyer for the study. Missy reveals she's in town to get some signatures from Sheldon, but is also going to a wedding the next day in Disneyland, so Leonard offers that she could stay at their apartment rather than have to make the journey there a day ahead of time. Sheldon's not too in favor of this, but ultimately it ends up happening. Back at their apartment, she's telling Leonard and Howard stories about Sheldon as a kid, while Sheldon works and pretty much ignores them. It is very clear that both Leonard and Howard are interested in Sheldon's sister. Penny eventually comes in and embarrasses Leonard by saying that he left his Superman underwear down in the dryer. He tries to deny it at first, but she shows that it has a label in it. Raj arrives and he speaks, and it's only the second time in the show that he's able to openly speak in front of women, as both Penny and Missy are right there, and it's revealed this time that it's not because he's drunk, it's because he has been accepted into the study and he has taken the new medication, but it reveals that it does have a side effect. The first one that shows itself is that he has some uncontrollable hand movement. And he does have one other side effect later in the show, and that's that he is unable to stop smiling. Raj now enters the competition, and it's clear that he too is interested in Sheldon's sister, and all three of them are competing for her attention. One thing to note here, though, is Raj, just like when he's drinking, is kind of obnoxious when he's able to talk to women. So that might show his natural personality is kind of just an obnoxious person, and he's kept under control when he can't normally speak to women. Penny eventually rescues Sheldon's sister by offering her to come with her to go get her nails done. She takes the offer and heads out. After she leaves, Howard and Raj continue to argue about it, but Leonard sees an opportunity to try to outsmart them and goes to talk to Sheldon and says, "Sheldon, it's your responsibility to make sure Missy ends up with the right person to ensure the best development of his family and Missy's future offspring." Sheldon eventually goes along with this and tells both Howard and Raj that neither one of them is suitable for his sister after he breaks up a fight between them. But he also dashes Leonard's hope by saying that he's also not suitable because of his lactose intolerance, and he wants his future niece or nephew to be able to eat dairy products without immediately becoming flatulent. As they're discussing all this, Penny and Missy return, and Missy overhears their conversation and is understandably upset because Sheldon is trying to control who she sleeps with, which is none of his business really. So she has to speak to him in private and tells him this. Sheldon tries to point out that she holds similar DNA to his, which could lead to a remarkable offspring such as himself. But in the end, it takes a groin shot to convince Sheldon that who she decides to sleep with is none of his business whatsoever, and he tells the rest of the group this after that. But Howard, Leonard, and Raj continue to try to compete over who's going to be able to date Missy. They do this by having a match in Wii boxing, which Leonard wins, giving him the opportunity to date her. However, they did forget one very key factor. When Leonard goes over, he first asks Penny if she's still dating her boyfriend. When she says she is, he has to speak to Missy, and she says that she's not interested in going out with him. She says she doesn't have any plans, she just doesn't want to. So this is what they forgot. They forgot that just because they decide they like her and they decide which one of them is going to get to ask her out, that does not mean that she's going to like them too. Howard soon suffers a similar fate as he tries next and tries to do some magic to impress Missy, but she rejects him very quickly as well. For a couple of guys who in the series have made very clear that they're kind of nerdy and they've always had trouble with women, you think they would know that this is going to be a factor. But Raj decides to try next, and it seems like he might have had some more success as Missy seems interested at his arrival, but unfortunately for Raj, his medication wears off and he is once again rendered unable to speak to her, so he just sadly walks away down the stairs making an odd noise. Poor Raj, this just isn't your day. So all three have tried and all three have failed, and we end the episode the next day with Missy leaving, saying goodbye to Sheldon, and there's funny interaction between them. She says she's very proud of him and says she tells all her friends that he's a rocket scientist. Sheldon takes this as an insult because to him, a rocket scientist is very beneath his actual position. So that is The Big Bang Theory, Season 1, Episode 15, The Pork Chop Indeterminacy. I think this is a pretty funny episode. I like that we get to introduce Sheldon's sister, another member of his family, and get a little more view into his background. And it's always fun to see someone who knows how to deal with Sheldon. She knew how to shut him down pretty quickly, as opposed to everybody else who's always kind of befuddled as how to deal with Sheldon's odd behavior. We see that there is hope for Raj, as there is another way to make him be able to speak to women, although it does come with some side effects. It's funny because this did work for Raj for a short time, and after this episode he doesn't continue taking the medicine, so I guess he just gave up on it after it wore out on him at a bad moment. Although, as we'll see, this isn't the last time in the show that Raj takes some experimental medication to try to get over his social anxiety. We do see at a couple points, too, that Leonard is still seeking out Penny, although he is not so seeking her that he's going to turn down other opportunities, as he is very interested in Sheldon's sister and is willing to take a chance to go and date her as well. This is a very solid episode, and I would give it a score of an 8 out of 10. Please give me your thoughts on the episode in the comments, and please be sure to like and subscribe. I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, keep an eye out for the next video coming soon.